Is your clutch pedal squeaking on your Infiniti G35 or 350Z Nissan? Well, let's diagnose and fix that, because it's annoying and I'm sick and tired of it. Okay, in order to remove the assembly, which I'm going to do in order to lubricate the all the workings properly, I could probably use some spray lubricant and just spray it up there, but I don't want it to start squeaking again in another month. So I'm gonna go ahead and remove the whole piece. I think there's 3 10mm bolts. There's a pin right here that needs to be removed from the master cylinder arm, and then there's 2 electrical connections. I think once I remove the 10mm bolts, I can, in this in the master cylinder connection, I can pull the unit out far enough in order to get better access to these electrical connections, and then remove those after. So I'm going to go ahead and try to take the unit out first, and then I'll take off the these electrical connectors. So first thing I'm going to do is remove this pin right here. So just pull down on that, and then this, you can push that pin through the hole there, and it'll come out the back side. There we go. There we go. So once you pull the unit towards you, and then swing it off to the right here, so that the clutch pedal is sitting down there, and then that gives you access to this blue connector right here. So we can now remove that simply by pinching it and pulling it out, and we could probably get, by maneuvering this thing around, you can get access to this other connector back here, this other blue one that's attached, and you just pinch it from behind and then pull it out towards the firewall. There we go. Now they're both disconnected. The only thing holding it in place is this clip. There's a clip up here that holds the wire loom onto the side, and you just need some needle nose pliers to disconnect that. Alright, now that I got the unit off, I'm going to lubricate several points in here. So inside here there's a shaft that goes through and holds on this big spring down here. I'm going to lubricate inside that shaft. There's no way to get that out unless you compress this spring, which is probably going to be difficult to do, so I'm not going to do that. But I did take off the nut. There's a 14mm nut on the end here. So you just remove that, and you can hold this side steady with a 20, I think it's a 20mm or 21. The 21 fits, but it's loose. And so I loosen that up so I can get my lithium grease down in there, and I can spray inside, and hopefully some of it will reach the insides of that, and then I'll push this bit back in, and then I'll tighten it back down with the nut. So I'm just going to try to lubricate in there as much as possible. And once I get it in there, I'll clean up the excess. And then push this nut back down. I screwed it down until it was just started to get resistance, and I'll check to make sure that it still works. Watch your fingers around this thing because it's that spring in there is very strong. Okay, just want to make sure that there's no side to side movement, and that it engages and disengages without binding or anything. Alright, now when you're lubricating the spring, you want to use a grease that's thick so it's not going to drip down on your feet. So I'm just going to use some bearing grease and push it down into the grooves. Alright, so I greased in here, just pushing it into the spring with my fingers. And the same thing on the other side. Pushed it down into the spring with my fingers, and I'll wipe off the excess. Okay, one last thing. Two more points that I'm going to lubricate in this. I'm going to use a liquid wrench again for this. Is right these pins that go through the spring here. I'm going to just spray some down in there. Alright, the one last spot I'm going to hit is where the clevis pin goes through and connects for the master cylinder. It goes through this hole right here. So I'm going to put some of this thicker grease in that hole. Get it from both sides. Before I connect the electrical connectors, I'll put it in and tighten down the nuts and bolt, because reconnecting the electrical connectors is going to be a lot easier than it would have been to disconnect them. So before I do that, I'm going to lubricate the inside of the master cylinder, where the master cylinder touches this metal ring. So I'll just put a little bit of lithium grease in there, and that way we won't get any won't get any squeaking from that joint either. Alright, when putting it back together, just a few notes. The two nuts get torqued down to 68 to 88 inch pounds, and then the bolt up top gets torqued down to 10 to 11 foot-pounds, so not a lot of torque on any of these. Make sure you put the clevis pin back in and attach the pin, or the cotter pin, to make sure it doesn't come out, and then reattach the electrical connections, the one there, the brown one, and then the blue one back behind, and then you're all set. Then just give it a little test. Quiet as a mouse. No more squeak. Alright, that's an easy job. Took about a half hour, and hopefully that helps some of you out there. I know a lot of these older clutches that have been used for the last 14, 15 years, they're going to start squeaking. So now you can fix them and do away with that nasty squeak.